Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Friends. This is Joe Cunningham. Joining me is Bill McMorris of the Washington Free Beacon, Jeff Blehar of the Decision Desk HQ, and currently mourning the loss of music, and Neal Dewing of the Fifth Estate podcast. Also joining us from the Washington Free Beacon, Liz Harrington. Hello and welcome to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Friends on a night when you're not at a bar smoking and a GIF. Let's start with the obvious news, a tragic celebrity death, and that is the death of former WWE superstar Chyna, who passed away in what is obviously a drug-related incident at her home at the age of like 45 or some shit like that. It's a terrible loss for the wrestling community. There's also some other death today, but we'll get to that later.
Wait, seriously, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this wrestling...
Chyna died as well?
Chyna died yesterday.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely...
Now we finally found something that upsets Neal. He wasn't upset at Prince dying, but when Chyna passes away, he's like, no, you must be lying.
She did great work on Third Rock from the Sun as a guest star.
And she also allegedly did decent work in adult films.
I wouldn't know about that.
So anyway, let's go on to something that's even worse than former WWE superstar Chyna in adult films, and that would be the elections in New York on Tuesday. Jeff, let's go to you, our so-called elections expert. What happened in New York, and why is the world so awful?
Well, what happened in New York is that Donald Trump absolutely crushed it. He won almost 60% of the vote. I believe the final tally was something along the lines of 59.8%. He won all but 5 delegates out of 95. I think he took 90 out of 95. Now, the ironic thing is that only taking 90 out of 95 still puts him somewhat off the pace that he would need to get to 1237. Which just tells you how hard it is for him to get to a 1237 committed delegates. But it nevertheless it's certainly a bad sign for what's going to happen next week, because what's happening next Tuesday is a series of primaries that are taking place in the Northeast, and those are all, and I mean every last one of them is going to be very heavily Trumpish. It's Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, and Pennsylvania, and Maryland. I think that the best chance that Kasich or Cruz have of taking any delegates will come out of Maryland, maybe Pennsylvania, but I don't even think Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania still is helpful because not all the delegates are assigned. There's some very obscure rules that aren't worth getting into. But the point is that you're going to have at least another week of Trump is going to win, Trump is stomping in, crushing narratives. What really matters more than anything else, however, is going to be the Indiana primary, which comes, I believe, on the 3rd of May, and that's going to be really the entire game. If Trump wins Indiana, he will actually almost certainly win the nomination, and then God help us all. If Trump loses Indiana, then he's not going to make it, and God only knows what happens at the convention. Indiana is where it's all going to come down to, but we're going to have at least one more Tuesday of really bad for the non-Never Trump factions. One more Tuesday of very bad headlines before things turn good again.
Well, speaking of Maryland, if that is the one place of maybe where a ray of light can come from, Donald Trump certainly tried to give us all some hope when he actually praised Tom Brady in the middle of Baltimore Ravens territory. Bill, let's go to you, our resident sports person. Even though baseball and football are totally different, what say you on the subject?
On Trump's chances in Florida, I actually think. I'm sorry, Florida. I meant Maryland. I think the Never Trump forces actually do not benefit at all from Trump praising the hated Patriots. Now, if he praises the Steelers to win Pennsylvania, then I think that could have some play in Maryland. But the only problem is if he does that, Kasich, because Kasich is a colossal fuck up and seems determined to make Trump the nominee, will say something about how the Baltimore Ravens, the city of Baltimore, stole the Cleveland Browns in the dark of night and fuck the city of Baltimore. He'll say something like that. I'll be the white knight in Cleveland, something along those lines. So it'll erase any damage that Donald Trump has done. In terms of Maryland, this is another state that seems like it would have been prime Rubio territory. The suburb, you still have the D.C. suburb effect, which is, a very very good drawing line for the Never Trump folks. But you also have Appalachia, which is where the vast majority of Republican voters are in that state. So, and as we've seen in West Virginia, I think we're going to see a strong turnout for Trump over in Maryland. But you may want to ask Liz Harrington, who happens to be from there.
All right, Liz Harrington, Bill has given you a segue to talk about whatever it was he was just saying. I kind of zoned out for a second, so carry on the conversation.
Yeah, so did I. I mean, it looks like Trump's ahead in the polls, and also Kasich's coming in second. So it looks like a series of states that Trump will sweep, and Kasich will come in second, and Cruz will come in third. So it's not looking good necessarily for Cruz until Indiana, like you said. For Maryland, I mean, the Brady thing, yeah, he always brings up Brady, and he doesn't realize that lots of people hate Tom Brady, and especially in Baltimore, or in Maryland, they're not going to like that, but I don't think it really matters that much.
You're absolutely right, because nothing at all matters. Jeff, I want to go back to you, because we are talking about Pennsylvania, and the head guy over the decision desk for some reason is weirdly obsessed with the state. Recently, Donald Trump talked about bringing the Joe Paterno statue back to Penn State. The only problem was he said that in Pittsburgh, and if I recall correctly, Pittsburgh does not like Penn State and vice versa. Why is Trump so bad at sports, and how will this affect his electoral chances?
Trump is bad at sports because he's never had to worry about them, never had to electioneer, and really doesn't give a rip about anything where he can't sit in an owner's box, which you can't do in college football anyway. I do really think that people are overstating the extent to which these things are going to matter worth a damn. I'm also from Maryland, just like Liz, although I'm from the cool part of Maryland. She's probably from one of those, bumblefuck counties. I'm from Montgomery County, where, all the bien pensants live.
The worst.
Where are you from? Which county are you from, Liz?
Frederick.
Yeah, Fredneck, where the men are men and the women are too. That's what we say about Frederick. Right up 270. But my point is that even in Frederick, you could praise the Dallas Cowboys as Donald Trump, and you would still do fine. These sorts of things are funny and amusing to us. They're not going to move votes one way or another. There's no blue-collar, Trump-loving, white, blue-collar individual who hears Donald Trump talk about Tom Brady. He lives in Arbutus in Baltimore County, and then suddenly he decides, well, screw that, I'm voting for John Kasich. No, that's not how it works. So they're the kind of things that we, the media, like to laugh about, but they aren't going to really affect anything. I think Trump actually is savvier than the rest of us, because he brings these things up to sort of emphasize his glamour, and the fact that he gets to rub elbows with big sports stars who are actually willing to publicly endorse him, which is more than you can say for Ted Cruz or for John Kasich, for that matter. So I think Trump actually is onto something when he does this. I think the regional rivalries don't matter that much.
Neal, you are actually the least sports person here, so I'm going to slightly switch subjects to you.
Thank you.
In terms of you being really the most positive force on this podcast, on this web show, the fact that a potential Donald Trump sweep next week is a thing that could and probably will happen. What does that do to your mostly positive outlook on life?
Well, Joe, I made a real sincere effort several months ago to lower my expectations down to the ground and then down further. I've been anticipating that things will go tits up for the GOP since December. So I'm pretty much just used to it. It might look like I'm positive. I'm actually it's like gallows humor kind of thing. So I just don't expect anything good to happen. And so even when terrible things happen, it's just, well, that's normal. So yeah, I don't know about positive. I don't know about being a positive force here. But the thing is, if Trump takes the nomination, if Trump wins outright, you can do a couple things. You can collaborate. You can get with the program, get on the Trump train, however you want to phrase it. You can turtle up, just sort of try to wait out the next 4 years or just until November when he loses to Hillary Clinton. Or you can reject the Republican Party, leave it entirely, and never look back, which is what I intend to do. I decided, which course of action I'd pursue long ago if Trump took the nomination, and that was to leave the Republican Party because there would be evidence the Republican Party does not represent me. So I've already got my plans. I'm just going to stick to them. I know, Bill. It's a big baby thing to do, but I don't have to do this. That's the thing. None of us have to. We can all just tune out and be like normal people. We can all go pay attention to sports or wrestling or whatever it is that people like, or music, as the case may be. And
okay, but Neal, here's the problem. Neal, if you don't pay attention to politics, what are you going to have left? Because you don't like sports, you don't like music, you don't like art, you don't like pleasure. And in fact, I don't think you like to laugh.
It's so much better than that, though, Neal. Don't answer Joy's question. Picture my scenario. You're going to not pay attention to politics for 2 months, right? You wean yourself off it completely. So you have no idea what's going on, and you turn on the channel one day, and you just go, holy shit, this Donald Trump guy is really making sense to me right now. And you'll be back in no time to go support Donald Trump, just carrying around a Trumpster fire bumper sticker and everything. It'll be great.
If that happens, I want one of you to shoot me.
Ooh, dibs.
But wait. Just to be clear, we're only allowed to shoot you if that happens.
Yeah. If I come back as a Donald Trump supporter, shoot me.
So, are there any other circumstances under which we can?
No. But
all right, fine, whatever. I'll take what I can get.
In addition to shooting me, you can also piss on my corpse.
And speaking of potential zombieism, let's go to I don't know. Liz, you're an investigative reporter. They are talking about removing Andrew Jackson's primary spot from the $20 bill. I have this theory that Andrew Jackson will rise from the dead and kick all of our asses. Being an investigative reporter, have you seen any evidence that this might happen?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to happen. I love this story because the currency isn't even going to change until 2020. Is anybody going to be using cash at that point? I mean, it's a total pointless move to make. I don't really think it matters that much.
Excuse me, Liz.
Like everything else.
Some of us who run sub-rosa drug empires will be continuing to use cash. I would like to thank you very much to not assume that
okay.
People have no need for it.
Try snorting cocaine with Bitcoin. Doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. So try using the credit card. The credit card is only good for dividing the coke. It's not good for rolling it up, and you can't roll a card up and snort. That's all I'm saying. I've tried.
Clearly you haven't tried melting down the card before you did that, dumbass. Neal,
I have no suggestions for cocaine usage. Sorry.
You seem like the type. My bad. Again, it's that sunny demeanor, that positive outlook. Surely you were on some sort of
that's why he's so depressed all the time.
I mean, I honestly
divide between you and our audience right now, Neal.
I honestly think the bigger story about the whole $20 bill is the attempt to gin up fake outrage. I don't know if you guys have seen this sort of sad attempt for people to claim, oh, conservatives are screaming about it. Unfortunately, the only three people I've seen who object to it at all are Donald Trump and Greta Susterin and some other idiot who isn't really a conservative.
Well, I object to it because I think that we've already decided what's on the currency, and we already have portraits made up for the currency, and any attempt to alter the currency beyond security measures is just a frivolous waste of the people's money. Maybe I'm a little Jacksonian in that way because I just think of this as a total non-issue.
Well, okay, the person who used to be on the $20 bill was Grover Cleveland. He was replaced in that position in 1927. Was it a nice guy when they did that?
Hey, I just want to point out right now that the people who are ginning up this fake outrage have never tweeted about Harriet Tubman before. We actually had a little fun at the Free Beacon yesterday because turns out that yours truly was calling for Harriet Tubman to be on the $20 bill back in like 2013. And Igor Volsky at Think Progress, who's trying to shame people for not hopping on a boat he literally got on yesterday at noon. And Amanda Marcotte was doing the same thing. Neither of these guys have said anything about Harriet Tubman in their entire fucking careers. And this is the modern left now. They decide what a proper position is after about 2 seconds of non-self-reflection, and then they call everyone else a bigot who's slower to get on the, train than they are. And so I thought it was I call on all of you to join me in tweeting out where was Igor and where was Amanda when it came to joining Bill McMorris and calling for a Harriet Tubman 20 way back in 2015. I'm just saying, we should just throw it back in their faces that they're blatantly. The reason they can get so outraged so easily is because they've never put thought to this. Neal, you're thinking about taxpayer money. I stopped listening. Everyone else did too. Who cares about taxpayer money? We literally set that stuff on fire. Yeah, like we care about wasting it to draw new pictures on our currency.
Well, speaking of the new pictures, of course, there's the idea that we put the image of Harriet Tubman with a gun, which leads me to kind of agreeing with Bill in that they don't put any thought into this because who was their choice? A pro-Second Amendment Republican black woman. Like, yeah, they got two demographics of their own, right, but then they completely drop the ball when it comes to guns and party affiliation.
Right, but here's the thing. I'm sure if we looked hard enough, we could find out that Harriet Tubman had some very objectionable opinions that would totally offend the modern left beyond the guns and beyond being a Republican. They defend everybody. She probably had thoughts about religion that were intemperate by today's standards. Who knows? I mean, who even knows? If you work hard enough, you can make anybody unacceptable. Because you're holding people in the past to your modern day standards, You
just described the entire left-leaning movement.
Yeah, I mean they're not that difficult to understand. But yeah, go ahead, Bill.
No, I mean there should be a litmus test here, right? Just like what did Harriet Tubman think about gay marriage, and if it was anything but support, then barred from the currency.
Is Harriet Tubman supportive of trans issues?
Yeah, which bathroom did Harriet Tubman use? And why did she win her own freedom but not campaign for, unisex outhouses at the same time? These are questions she's going to have to answer at her confirmation hearing to be on the $20 bill.
Thank you, Bill. That was a phenomenal segue into the transgender bathroom issue. So we've got Donald J. Trump, who is, to tie everything together, also a noted member of the WWE Hall of Fame, to which China will now almost certainly be inducted. So we've tied the beginning of the show to now. We've talked about the $20 bill, which Donald Trump is adamantly opposed to because, hey, we need some outrage. And he's talking about politically correct culture being, totally out of control and taking Andrew Jackson off the $20 bill. But, by God, you let people who think they are a gender different than the sex they were born with, the biological sex they were born with, you let them use whatever bathroom they want to because, hey, we can't be biased against those people. Donald Trump is truly a fascinating creature to watch flip-flop to the point where he is actually just constantly spinning. He is now a perpetual motion device. He can provide alternative energy. He can get us that energy independence that we need simply by how many turns he makes on certain issues. Jeff, transgender bathrooms. Why the fuck are we talking about this?
I don't know, and I don't care. And that's literally all I have to say about transgender bathrooms. I couldn't give a flying fuck less about this subject. North Carolina has a right to pass its bill, and I really don't care what they do. That's federalism. May it long live.
I'm being told that we have a new guest. Unfortunately, all I see right now is a silhouette. However, I'm told he's there. Matthew Walther, also of the Washington Free Beacon. I'm being told in our group chat, let's go to him on the issue of transgender bathrooms. He says he doesn't have headphones. I don't care. Matthew, speak on the subject of transgenders and bathrooms and whatever else you can find. There's a head. Okay, there we go. Discuss.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is...
Wait, that's not Matthew Walther. That's Liz Harrington. That's
So insulting.
Look, he has to identify as Liz first before we can just accept that he's Liz.
Of course I identify as Elizabeth Harrington. And I've been listening to you, and I think that the way that trans women of color are discriminated against in this country is disgusting. You know what? When I was on my way here, I was being driven in the BATF limousine by an undocumented worker with a magnificent tan, by the way. And he felt othered in the exact same way.
What did I just witness?
Comedy genius.
Do you guys
don't
just
you-
witnessed Liz Harrington keeping it real?
Okay, I gotta tell you, the scariest thing about Walther in a wig is how well he wears it. I mean, listen, dude, you shave that beard and that mustache, you could pull off a reasonably convincing, like, nerdy librarian and drag thing going on there. You've got the look. You've got the look. I wonder how you would look in leggings.
Marginalized, Joy.
What'd you say?
I said that I refuse to be othered or marginalized.
Well, I'm not marginalizing you at all. In fact, I want to boost your confidence. I think you need the courage to wear fishnets.
I don't need to
You look
pass
really
what
good
I
in
am,
fishnets.
Joy.
Well, I'm sorry that you take my compliment the wrong way. All I want to know is, what are you doing on Friday night?
So, Joe, you wanna get back in control here, buddy?
Really, I just cannot wait for the next feature at the Washington Free Beacon, A Day in the Life of a Transgender Who Wants to Use the Women's Bathroom by Matthew Walther. I think that's going to be a fantastic piece, and I cannot wait for that to be released in the morning or the next day, if that's what happens. Yes, Liz.
Can I just say I would not use
Which
the
Liz?
bathroom
Which Liz?
with the other Liz.
Oh, the
Wait. The
So
other
you just
Liz?
literally-
Wait, the other Liz or the othered Liz? 'Cause
You
I
just
feel like
literally othered the other Liz.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I'm happy to do that.
unacceptable.
You know
That's-
I'm tired.
He deserves othering.
Yeah, you know what? Enough of your cishet privilege. I'm really tired of it. You speak with the arrogance that comes from being a cishet woman, a white woman no less, a white woman from Frederick County, Maryland, which is the you probably worship, like you cling to your guns and your religion out there. You don't know what Matt has to go through on a daily basis.
Yeah,
Liz,
I
you
don't,
took
and I don't
7% time on me. Yeah. Ugh,
I don't know what's
gosh,
better
so
here.
cruel.
I don't know what's better here, the fact that we have an actual transgender transsexual, or the fact that we have Joy white knighting the transgender transsexual. This has just so far been fantastic. Let's talk to let's continue talking to Matt, because there's just so many different subjects to talk about with an othered transgender woman. For example, what are your thoughts on Yeah, I got nothing. This is completely thrown me off. Bill, take over while I try to figure out where the fuck I am.
Because of your bigotry.
Are you just reading from
No,
Tumblr
no.
randomly right
Neal.
now? Is that how? Like, is that your research? Is going to Tumblr for like 15 minutes? Because that seems to be your how you're getting your lingo here.
Now, let's talk about Kurt Schilling. Joy, you're a baseball guy or a gal. What do you think about ESPN masquerading as a social justice warrior organization and firing Kurt Schilling for stating an opinion shared by the majority of the population?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think it's BS. You know, what he said. So first of all, something he said months ago. I always find it particularly noxious when somebody goes and digs up some old statement that wasn't controversial at the time, but now that this North Carolina ordinance has been passed, now it's suddenly a big deal. That to me is particularly insulting. On the other hand, of course, ESPN has a right to fire him. They have a right to decide what it is they do and they don't want on their air. I can't pretend anything otherwise. but it's obnoxious, and it suggests the extent to which ESPN has been captured largely by activists, or at least feels the need to bow to them on social media, even though they don't really comprise their viewership. I mean, who are we kidding? The people who watch ESPN for baseball commentary, by and large, are not really that concerned with Curt Schilling suggesting that if you have a penis, you should be going to the bathroom in the men's room. I find that to be a fairly unreasonable point to make, whether you make it with a funny picture or not. But I can guarantee you that the sorts of folks who are diehard baseball fans are more often, more likely than not, also going to be on the same side of that. Or, failing that, they're not going to care. I think Curt Schilling is going to be all right. I have a feeling that Fox is going to hire him as an analyst within the next 2 weeks, if they haven't already, as well they should. Because here's the other thing about Curt Schilling. I'm not a fan of the Red Sox. I'm not a fan of the Diamondbacks. I'm not a fan of any team Curt Schilling has ever played for. But he's a pretty damn good baseball analyst. He's a very intelligent man. He's a very, very good speaker, and he's very gifted at what he does. So he's going to be back at some point, and I really hope that this trend doesn't continue, although I'm not very optimistic.
Well, there's one thing about sports journalism that I think everybody forgets, and that there is only one thing that actually makes people want to stop watching sports, and that's working in sports journalism. That explains ESPN. That's why I went a solid 3 years without actually watching sports regularly, because when you are so involved with sports journalism and it's your job, or when you're so involved with sports and it's your job, you tend to hate all sports. And that's what ESPN has become, is a place that hates sports and is trying desperately to get people to stop watching sports. But for some reason, we keep doing so. I'll give it back to you, Bill.
Now, Neal, you're a big Anglophile. We all know this. Look at your style. What do you think about Great Britain, of all places, issuing a travel advisory to any of their citizens who come to the United States, basically that they can get stoned to death if they enter North Carolina? Should Donald Trump get ahead of this and just reject all immigration and travel?
I've gotten on my death
Great
threat
Britain.
from Trump supporters.
Neal?
You know, I'm kind of at a loss for words. I don't know why the UK would issue a travel advisory in those sorts of terms. It seems a bit of an overstatement. Just being told that you have to use the bathroom that corresponds with your plumbing. But you know, that's the world we live in. So yeah, I think if Trump wanted to, he could certainly use this as a springboard to restrict immigration, legal, illegal, whatever. So I don't know. You know, I'm going to North Carolina Saturday. So
Are you worried?
No, I'm not worried in the slightest bit. I don't have anything to be worried about. I might just decide to use a women's restroom though, just on a lark. But honestly, I don't know. This whole issue is so ridiculous, and I feel like it's being blown out of proportion in a lot of ways. People they have these weird little ideas about the transsexual, transgender issues, and this is obviously some sort of mental illness that is afflicting these poor people. But people entertain that delusion. They allow it to go out from one mind to other minds and spread. It's like a contagious mental illness. It's actually kind of interesting in that way, and it seems to have spread across the pond to UK. So.
Now, Liz, I identify as somebody who wears a GoPro on his head, and I also identify as a woman. Would you be comfortable with me walking in your bathroom, or are you bigoted?
No, I wouldn't be comfortable with you walking in my bathroom with or without the GoPro. I mean, the fact that we're having this conversation, it basically means we're done, right? I mean, come on. If a society can't define gender, what's the point of having a society whatsoever?
That's a fantastic question. Personally, I think we should be in anarchy. What I want to know is how similar is this to the whole gay marriage fight when we're like, why don't you just have civil unions and be done with it? Why can't we just have unisex bathrooms and be done with it? Why does it have to be the full crossover, have what the other side has, or nothing at all? Why can't we do that? Why is the left so terrible? Jeff?
Oh, okay, yeah. The reason is because there's a certain totalizing ideology found on the left. It's not just enough to win an argument. They have to exterminate or extinguish the wrongly held beliefs of those who they perceive as opponents. This is something that provides them not only with a sense of political victory, but with a very, very personal moral satisfaction. It's their substitute for religion in a lot of ways. It's a totalizing aspect. It's not enough that they should win, but that you should lose as well. And that's why they'll never stop. When you have political ideology that's built upon these premises, they will become more and more aggressive. The more victories they win, the more things that they will push for. This is, a lot of times people sort of laughingly dismiss the idea of the slippery slope argument as being, slippery slopes are slippery, but people know when to stop, and it's an overblown fear. But in this case, I think it's a very real fear, because you have an entire ideology that needs another enemy, and that needs something to fight against, something to win against, something to be seen as being more virtuous than, some enemy to hold in their sights. And so long as it holds sway on the left, there will always be another enemy and another boogeyman, and that boogeyman is going to be treated not just as an opponent or something that you disagree with, but as something that's morally unacceptable, that's intellectually not cognizable, that doesn't even offer an argument or a challenge to their position, but simply needs to be dismissed out of hand as something that shouldn't even be taken seriously. That actually takes us to an article that was written today for Vox that actually I can't believe I'm recommending, but I really strongly do. It was written by one of their editors, who talked about the smug trait of modern liberalism, the smugness that's based on the sense that they are in possession of knowledge and all actual facts, and therefore that the people who disagree with them don't do so because they hold opposing viewpoints, but simply because they're ignorant hicks. They're stupid, they're wrong, they can't be saved, so they should just be crushed. And this is an attitude that we're going to be seeing a lot more of as we go on, and you see it very much so in this transgender bathroom sort of a controversy. This obviously wasn't even an issue on anybody's radar as recently as 3 years ago. Now it apparently is the profound moral crusade of our time, according to some people. Well, who are these people kidding? No, it's about feeling better about themselves.
But I mean, one of the things that makes me not mourn the eventual crumbling of the GOP is just how scared and cowardly they have been in standing up and fighting these bills. You saw out in South Dakota, the governor of South Dakota vetoed a bill that would have kept men out of the women's locker room, because it's not just the bathroom. We saw the case in Virginia yesterday, where a judge struck down a school's ban on a boy using the girls' locker room. Now, that locker room has shower facilities. That was the entire reason for not letting him in there. Now they're basically saying, hey, you can expose yourself to a young teenage girl, but only if you identify as such. And this is such a popular opinion. It polls so well, and yet our Republican people are too cowardly to stand up for it and affirm what a vast majority of the populace, even if it's not the press, believes. And it's because they're scared. They don't have any moral confidence or any underlying principles for supporting these things. And if you need to look at how this polls, you need to look no further than Houston. Houston, which has twice elected a lesbian mayor, is the most liberal city outside of Austin in all of Texas. When the transgender bathroom bill was put to a vote, 2/3 of the population that elected a lesbian mayor, 2/3 of the population in the most liberal city in Texas voted to keep biological reality the defining factor in going to the bathroom. And
I object to one thing. I object to your characterization of Houston as the most liberal city in Texas. Apparently,
I said aside from Austin.
Oh, I know you didn't. You thought it. You didn't say
No, I said it. Go back. Replay the tape. Just kidding. There's no replay in baseball or BATF in a just world. Anyway, replay in baseball is about as popular as these transgender bills. And the fact that we're too cowardly to stand with them when the vast majority of voters, when given the choice, actively support them is very telling, and is one reason I'm not going to miss the current incarnation of the conservative movement in elected office.
Yes, and meanwhile, we are missing Jake Arrieta's no-hitter. I just want you to know that.
Go Cubs.
Joe, are you no longer hosting the show?
That was my only contribution as host. Go Cubs. Let's go to the fact that Neal had a horrified look on his face just a moment ago, and if I'm right, it's because he was reading the group chat a second ago. And
I was. There's some John Kasich erotica being written in the group chat, which I'm not going to read, but maybe Matt Walther can read it. He seems like that would be fine and normal for him to do.
Yes, Matt, read it all out loud. Don't listen to your wife. Just read that. Read what the Red State Media box says. Read it aloud so that your wife can hear it. No. The wig has to remain on.
Who? Yeah. You mean this filth, this smut here?
Yes, read it, but put the wig back on. Read it. You're doing it wrong.
Kasich returned to the hotel room every night alone. Takes off his pants and runs his fingers up and down the leggings. With a gentle sigh, he lies on the ultra-soft bed and weeps.
that was beautiful.
You can't improvise more. I can tell you what happens next.
That did more to increase.
We just got 2 viewers from
abstinence than any sort of abstinence-only education. Good job. We should show this to kids in schools. We'll get an NIH grant. These kids will wait until marriage. We'll save an entire generation from immorality.
Or just save an entire generation from getting made, which is probably just as good. Speaking of generations no longer needing to be made, we, of course, were just talking about the fact that Donald J. Trump is probably going to sweep next week, and we just had the Republican Party have its annual spring meeting where they went and essentially codified the rules or some shit like that. I really haven't paid attention because it's standardized testing time in public schools, and so I'm being dragged hopelessly down into that quagmire. But apparently people are really upset at the idea that Donald Trump won't walk away simply because he has more votes and more delegates than everybody else. Why is it that we have to have a majority of the delegates, not just the guy with the most? Why is that the system that we have? This is a question that can go to literally whoever, because you all look frankly mystified that we've even gone down this rabbit hole.
Are you asking why pluralities and majorities work?
Yeah, why majority and not plurality?
I don't know. That's the rules, I guess. I mean, if they wanted to change the rules, I suppose they could, but yeah, a majority, I would guess, just projects so much stronger, more secure base of support than a simple plurality. I don't know. Maybe there's an actual political science reason why majorities are preferable to pluralities in these situations, but as far as I'm concerned, anything that keeps Donald Trump away from the nomination is fine. I think maybe we should make it so that you need 99% of the delegates to be the nominee. I don't care. Whatever works. Any sort of procedural trickery that we can use to deny Donald Trump and his inbred troglodytic supporters anything like political power is fine with me.
Well,
Betrayal, lies, deceit.
As somebody who's slept through a lot of political science classes, except strangely enough the foreign policy one, I can tell you that, yeah, there may actually be some political science reason that we do this. I just don't remember it off the top of my head. Bill, in an ideal world, would plurality over majority be good enough?
No. I'm a strict Republican. I believe in winner takes all. Even though at this point I am very glad we don't have a winner-take-all system for the primary, because that would, gosh, I think Donald Trump would have locked it up already. But no, Neal's right. You need an outright majority to demonstrate, especially in a field this crowded, to demonstrate that you have a base of support on which to build come general election. So I don't see how a plurality of delegates, duly appointed according to state party rules in all of the states, should absolutely be able to hash out a deal. What I was disturbed about and surprised, and maybe Jeff can speak to this a little bit more, was the committeemen basically saying if Trump gets to 1,100, he pretty much has the nomination locked up because he can find 100 people easy. And he was referring to the first ballot, not the second ballot of any kind. And that is a worry that I actually hold, is the fact that you've seen Trump's numbers go up once people accept that he's an inevitable guy. So you saw him jump past the ceiling that everybody thought he had, which is about 35% of the vote. You've seen him jump to huge majorities in several states, and you have a feeling it's because of a snowball effect, where you're just like, I might as well get behind the winner now because he'll help me out down ticket. The one obstacle that Trump is going to run into is the same one Bernie is running into when it comes to superdelegates, and that's the fact that Hillary Clinton has built a machine that has been able to capture enough superdelegates basically through bribery itself, by basically, there are promises there organizationally and institutionally that these candidates are going to get a lot of money once she's in control of the party again. They'll get money for their pet causes, they'll get money for their candidates, they'll get money for their districts, and Bernie Sanders can't offer that because he doesn't have that sort of machine. He's got a cult of personality that has enabled him to do an admirable job in fundraising, but he's not going to be able to share the largesse with people down the ticket. I feel like Trump is going to be the same way by not wooing any of the delegates. He may even fall short of that 100 delegate threshold just because he can't woo them with goodies like down ticket support and primary support if they're seeking county office. And that's my 2 cents on something serious. Liz?
Yeah. I mean, I think that is likely to happen, is that Trump won't get to 1237, but he'll get close enough that most people will be afraid of a revolt from the voters that voted for him. And there are, roughly 130 delegates that are unbound to begin with. And like you were saying, he can court these guys and probably get to the number he needs. I mean, it depends with Indiana and California, obviously, but I think it's looking like he's going to not get to 1237, but he's going to get awfully close, where it's going to be really hard to try to take it away from him. I mean, I think that's why that will just reinforce all of this voter anger that's already out there if it's seen as people trying to take it away from him.
To which I say, so what? Let them be angry. They're going to riot one way or the other. I mean, they're going to be angry. They're going to stay angry. They came angry. They're going to remain angry, and they're going to be angry long after this election is over. So why not just instigate an actual violent confrontation?
Because we'd lose.
I mean, because
it came to fisticuffs, Well, the unemployed bricklayer probably has one on Neal Dewing and Matthew Walther.
They're right that they came angry, but what are they angry about? They're angry because they've been sold a false bill of goods, election after election. It's hilarious to me that people are pivoting to Ted Cruz and talking about him as a serious mainstream alternative to Donald Trump. This is a guy who pretends that he's going to abolish the IRS.
I know.
We have a better chance of Trump getting Mexico to pay for the wall and being filleted on the White House lawn by Vicente Fox, who comes along with a check, than we do a Cruz abolishing the IRS.
I think Neal liked you better when you had the wig on.
No, I like him better now that he's trashing Ted Cruz. That makes me happy. But I mean, the wig wouldn't hurt. But I understand. No, I agree. I agree. But we also have to keep in mind maybe these people, maybe they don't know what they want. Maybe because they're ignorant of what actually works and what is feasible and what is politically possible. Maybe they have been sold a false bill of goods on that front in terms of their expectations for their political system. And so because they're now so frustrated with the slow, clunky, inefficient system that we were given in the Constitution, they've now turned to demagogue Donald Trump. Maybe that's the source of the anger. You know, they haven't been failed. They have had their expectations set in the wrong way. Thoughts? Anybody? Maybe I'm blaming the peasants for their own misery. Essentially, what's wrong with those working class schlubs?
Are we going to have peasants?
Won't be led by their elites. What?
Are we going to have peasants after this election? Because I'm pretty sure that like everybody, no matter who votes for who and who gets nominated, everybody seems pretty much done. Like it's all or nothing. Everybody's banking on like Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. And like if they don't get the nomination, then like scores of voters are going to be like, fuck it, and they're gone. So I really think we've reached the point where maybe we can just lose a large percentage of the voting population.
See, I wish that was true. And demographically speaking, if these young people, stay true to their word, and one third of them saying there's no way I turn out for Clinton, I don't see that being true because this is the same demographic that gets whipped into a fury about Harriet Tubman and what Ben Carson thinks. Like Democrats will be able, and they're very confident in Hillary Clinton's camp, I think justifiably so, that given the right bad guy and the right enemy, these people will foster up and be drafted into the ranks of Hillary 2016, if only to stop creeping Trump fascism from entering the realm. So I would love it if we could depend on these millennials to be true to their word, but there's no sense of honor in these people anyway. So of course they're going to turn out and go back on their word in a way that a guy like Neal Dewing wouldn't, because Neal owns an epi sword, and that what says honor if not a sword in the background of your BATF.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't see the kind of the missing college voter changing the course of the 2016 election the way the missing white voter did in 2012. And with that, I'm having a cigarette.
Okay. Wow, we are almost out of time already. It is amazing.
No, we started 15 minutes late.
Was it 15 minutes? I thought it was like 5 or 10.
We have 10 more minutes of time.
Well, that's
if you
fine.
want, I can talk some more.
We have as many viewers as we have minutes left. That's what happens when the show stays on topic a little too long. Is that we just up and lose all of our viewers. It's plummeting. It's now down to 8 viewers. So let's save it by going completely off the subject and let's talk about music. And since Jeff made us filibuster for him, now he gets to filibuster the floor. Prince, go.
About who?
Prince, the dude that died today.
Who's that? The Prince of Wales died?
Yes.
You want to talk about it, Jeff. Talk about the singing guy.
Well, I mean, there's not too much to say. I don't want to give up all my best material because I'm going to be writing about this for an outlet tomorrow. But it's not a joke when I say that we lost today at the death of Prince, one of the great musical polymaths of the modern era. There's really been no one like him in American pop music history, with the exception of Stevie Wonder, who was very much like him in the sense that both were masters of everything that they ever tried to do, could play any instrument, drums, keyboards, bass, guitar, could produce, could do anything they wanted as long as they felt like it, and were able to make years and years, over decades, of consistently brilliant music that transcended all boundaries and all genres and refused to ever be held in any one place or put into any one kind of box. That's, to me, the most impressive thing about Prince, the fact that some, black midget weirdo from Minneapolis, Minnesota, came out of nowhere and ended up, not only getting a record contract, making a few interesting funk singles, but no. Nobody was going to tell Prince what it was he should or shouldn't do with his music, with his career, with his talent. From the start, he insisted on being a musician of all types and all talents. He was just as fascinated by rock and roll, by Jimi Hendrix, by Fleetwood Mac, by the Beatles, by everything that you could hum, everything that was catchy, anything that had any sort of appeal to him, he would bring to bear on his music, and he would fuse it together with his own particularly quirky and bizarre and frankly downright insane mindset. And that singular desire to do it his way makes him, to compare him to someone else, he reminds me of a modern Frank Sinatra in this one sense, that no matter what else you can say about him, he took his lumps, he suffered his trials, but at the end of the day, he did it his way. He always did it his way. From the time he started to today when he died in a tragic way, he never let anyone else, including record companies, tell him what he should do with his music, which is, even to the extent of not even allowing it to be streamed or to be hosted on YouTube, which is pretty frustrating for people like me who want to, put up tributes to him and things like that. If you haven't heard the song Raspberry Beret off of Around the World in a Day, and if you haven't heard Pop Life, When You Were Mine, When Doves Cry, 100 other songs, Seven, which is just a bizarre one massive hook that goes on for 4.5 minutes. If you haven't heard these songs, you're poorer for it, and we're all poorer for the fact that Prince is no longer among us, and that's all I have to say about that.
I think what you're missing, though, is two things. And first of all, his tremendous work on the soundtrack of the original 1989 Batman movie. And secondly,
that's one of his worst albums.
Secondly, it took mere hours for a hate piece to be written about how conservative and possibly anti-gay Prince was.
Wait, where? Who did it?
That was posted at the Washington Post today, I believe. Somebody actually got.
It was a New Yorker interview from 2007.
Because he's a Jehovah's Witness, I assume, is right. Is that what it is?
Yeah. You're not allowed to have religious beliefs and be cool, dude. We all know this.
So it's, I think that's got to be fairly quick for a hot take to go up on a major outlet like that so soon after an icon dies. So Prince has once again broken an amazing record in terms of how quick can a think piece be written against you after your death. So that is one more thing that Prince has done. Now, Jeff, I do want to ask you a music-related question. When it comes to guitar playing, top 10, top 5, where would Prince fall?
Geez, I mean, there are so many different styles of guitar. But I would say he's easily top 20. I think you could put him in the top 10. We could argue over it. Top 5, I don't know. But I'll say this much, that there were many guitarists who tried to sound and play like Jimi Hendrix. In fact, everyone, after Jimi Hendrix came onto the scene, wanted to be Jimi Hendrix. No one ever succeeded at that except for one guy, and that was Prince Rogers Nelson, who could play everything that Jimi Hendrix could play, and could play with just as much inventiveness and soul as he did. And he didn't even always want to, but he could if he wanted to. And I think that you only need to listen to Purple Rain, the album, which is composed almost entirely of amazing guitar moments, because Prince at his most rock-oriented, to hear just what an incredibly, not only a technically gifted guitarist he was, but how much soul and how much actual melodic genius he had as well. It wasn't just chops. It wasn't just flash. He could really make that instrument sing.
Everybody, please go to at Bill McMorris on Twitter and retweet him immediately. That is something that needs to happen. There's 12 of you watching. I know you're all on Twitter.
Jeff,
please make that happen.
Jeff, don't go.
Guys, we got to do something.
No.
This is why we have social media, to affect change.
God forsaken. This is a phenomenal way to close the show. However, we've still got some time left, and I'm trying to figure out how to top what Bill has done, which I don't think I can. Let's kind of wrap up by talking about probably the most serious issue of today, and that is the fact that we lost China, former WWE wrestler. We've lost Prince. These things happen in threes. Starting with you, Bill. Who's number 3?
Oh, I mean, we've lost a ton of great artists this year. I kind of don't even want to venture a guess.
It's going to have to be a person who goes only by one name. China, Prince, Kanye.
Oh, good point. So, Bjork. Bjork.
we already lost her. I saw that horrible Lars von Trier film.
Liz, who do you think will be the third?
I don't know. I mean, if we're thinking first name basis, Hillary's got that awful coughing problem, so.
That would be great.
That was very audible, Neal. Thank you. So Neal, can I throw you down into the Hillary for number 3 camp as well, or are you going to be morbid and think of some other artist?
No, I'd like Ivanka Trump.
Okay, Jeff.
New mother, face of the Trump campaign, Ivanka, dead.
You're still going, Neal, but I will say that first it was China, then it was Prince. Therefore, I hope tomorrow it's Kanye, because I really have been disappointed with his recent albums.
Matt, how about you?
Yeah, but guys, it's only funny if it's an outlandish choice. Like, he could actually die at any moment.
Too much coke, I assume.
Matt, who do you think number 3 in the trinity of losses will be? We lost China yesterday, Prince today. Tomorrow will be?
Tomorrow, one of the great bass guitar players of our time, Mike Huckabee.
Hey, you sold out O'Malley.
I want to change my vote to Mike Huckabee now.
Well, I was going to keep with the theme of people who go by a single name, and I was going to say Sting, but that is a phenomenal, and I mean Sting the singer, not the wrestler. But yeah, Huck is now really high on that list, and possibly really high if you listen to some of his most recent interviews. So, yeah, it could very well happen. We're going to say goodnight to our 10 viewers because I think that's pretty much the ceiling for our show. Nope, 11. We just broke the glass ceiling. Congratulations, everybody. Congratulations to Fox Business talent Liz Harrington for crushing her career by coming on the show yet again. Also, Bill McMorris of the Washington Free Beacon.
Catch me on Red Eye next Wednesday. They're having me back so I can make these terrible jokes.
Okay.
No.
It's no Fox Business talent, but it's all I got going for me.
Also not on TV, and perhaps for the best, Jeff Blehar of the Decision Desk HQ. You can catch him and the rest of the gang Tuesday night as we watch the terribly depressing shit that goes on there. Matthew Walther also of the Washington Free Beacon, Neal Dewing of the Fifth Estate podcast, and me, Joe Cunningham, who is normally at RedState, but again, due to standardized testing, I will probably be invisible on the internet, except for Twitter occasionally. Next week I will not be here hosting. We'll be taken over by Bill McMorris. And if there's no show the week after, I totally understand, you guys. It's been an honor. And good night, everybody.